Welcome. We will have the Kim Dae-jung Award ceremony and the round table. I'm Ajin Choi and will serve the chair of this session. It is great pleasure and privilege to take part in this meaningful event. Kim Dae-jung Award was established to commemorate the legacy of President Kim Dae-jung, the 15th President of the Republic of Korea, and Nobel Peace Prize laureate and political philosopher. Sponsored by the Kim Dae-jung Foundation, this award will be presented for the first time in the commemoration of the 2025 IPSA Seoul World Congress. The Kim Dae-jung Award aims to promote the core values President Kim dedicated to his life to global peace, democracy, and human rights, and will be presented to the political scientist who has demonstrated the significant contribution to the advancement of the democracy, peace, and human rights in research and education. Now, I would like to invite the IPSA President, Pablo Onate, to come forward and present the inaugural Kim Dae-jung Award to the 2025 recipient, Professor T.V. Paul. President, please step forward to the center of the stage. Okay, could you take a pose for photo?
Please go towards the middle.
Okay, thank you.
세계정치학회에서 이렇게 또 상까지 주실 거는 제가 몰랐습니다. 감사합니다. 다시 한번 감사합니다.
Next, the panelists, 6 panelists, and the figures from the Kim Dae-jung Foundation, please come over to the stage. First, may I invite the Professor Paul to speak. As the inaugural Kim Dae-jung Award recipient, we would be very honored to hear your acceptance speech along with your reflections on how your research had contributed to the advancement of the world peace, human rights, and democracy. And Professor Paul will have the 20 minutes for your presentation.
Thank you very much for this great honor. Distinguished panelists, attendees, and IPSA officials here, as well as the Kim Dae-jung Foundation representatives, many of you here. And I must thank the Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister Kim Min-suk, to visit us on this auspicious occasion. I'm deeply honored to, let me also welcome you in Korean. My Korean may not sound very great. Annyeong hashminika. Yes. Thank you. Yes. I'm deeply honored to receive this award established by the Kim Dae-jung Foundation and IPSA together in tribute to President Kim Dae-jung, a visionary Korean statesman and global citizen. His impact transcended national boundaries, and this global resonance was rightfully acknowledged when the Nobel Peace Prize Committee awarded him the honor in 2000. His initiation of the inter-Korean dialogue through the Sunshine Policy, coupled with his unwavering commitment to democracy and human rights, made invaluable contributions to peace and reconciliation. His courageous resistance to dictatorship and his pivotal role in Korea's democratic transition remain a powerful inspiration for progressive movements around the world, especially today, as such voices are increasingly suppressed by the rise of populist movement. He was indeed in the category of the philosopher and visionary leader, yet with enormous political ideas, transformative in every sense. President Kim's dedication to peaceful change, both domestically and internationally, deeply aligns with the themes that have guided much of my own personal academic journey. I'll go in a little bit on that before concluding this talk. I come from Kerala, a state in southern India, often described as God's own country for its breathtaking natural beauty and admirable achievements in religious harmony, human development, and social inclusivity. My passion for global affairs ignited very early. As a child growing up in the 1960s, I was deeply troubled by the question of why the United States was bombing Vietnam and Cambodia so ruthlessly when those countries had taken no direct action against the US homeland. I remember watching the movie Tora, 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 a film portraying the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, and even at a younger age, I felt compelled to understand the nature of major power conflict and its devastating human consequences. Later, I grappled with the unsettling logic behind nuclear deterrence and questioned the moral and strategic justifications for the possession and potential use of these weapons by a select group of countries. So much of my academic work explores the dynamics of international and regional orders, focusing on how violence, whether by great or regional powers, can be restrained. I have studied enduring conflicts such as those between North and South Korea, India and Pakistan, India and China, and the Arab-Israeli conflict. These unending conflicts, I argue, are rooted in the legacies of colonial and great power strategies built on division, imperial dominance, and persistent neglect of the will of the people within those regions. University of Chicago political scientist John Mearsheimer's concept of the tragedy of great powers underscores how the pursuit of power and influence generate intense conflict. However, I believe that in addition to power, seeking hierarchical status by these states generates extraordinary violence in geopolitically pivotal regions. Achieving peace, therefore, demands a fundamental transformation of these deeply embedded structures of conflict. Regrettably, the leadership in many major power and post-colonial states have rarely introduced transformative policies that could alter the trajectory of perpetual conflicts. Yet history offers glimpses of bold alternatives. Former Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev's glasnost and perestroika, West German former Chancellor Willy Brandt's Ostpolitik, and President Kim Dae-jung's sunshine policy stand out as examples of visionary strategies that challenged conventional paradigms. While not all succeeded, some did, particularly in the US-Soviet and Indo-German relations, achieving lasting peace up to a point. In contrast, the Korean division remains unresolved, largely because an adversarial regime locked in existential struggle has resisted making the concessions necessary for peace and unification. Moreover, major powers, including China, Russia, and the United States, have not sufficiently supported a genuine rapprochement. Returning to my personal academic path, after completing undergraduate and master's studies at Kerala University and Jawaharlal Nehru University in New Delhi, I began my doctoral work in 1986 at UCLA, University of California, Los Angeles, under Professor Richard Rosecrans. Some of you probably know him. His book, The Rise of the Trading State, includes Korea as a key case. My own dissertation focused on asymmetric conflicts, specifically why weaker powers challenge stronger ones despite the potential for severe repercussions. One of my core case studies was China's intervention in the Korean War, and I was fortunate to conduct field research in Korea in 1990. Since joining McGill University in Montreal in 1991, my scholarship has spanned peaceful change, international order, balance of power, particularly soft balancing, regional orders, South Asian and Indo-Pacific security, and nuclear restraint. My works are driven by what I call intellectual puzzles and illuminated through eclectic interdisciplinary methods, drawing heavily from international relations theory, history, and sociology. I've introduced or refined concepts including asymmetric conflicts, soft balancing, complex deterrence, geostrategic curse, status reciprocity, and peaceful change. Of my 8 authored and 16 edited volumes, I regard the tradition of non-use of nuclear weapons as my most consequential work. It explores why nuclear-armed states have refrained from using such weapons against non-nuclear adversaries in particular. I attribute the restraint to a normative tradition, sometimes viewed as a taboo by some scholars and others, that emerged after Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The Korean War is a central case in this book, where the United States considered nuclear use against China, but ultimately refrained for both normative and strategic reasons. Today, this tradition faces growing strain. The Ukraine conflict, tensions between Israel and Iran, and the India-Pakistan rivalry test its durability. With escalating arms buildups and minimal progress on nuclear confidence building, the tradition remains fragile. It is unclear whether old and new nuclear states such as North Korea have internalized these norms sufficiently. Both Putin and Trump have, in recent years, threatened nuclear use, signaling how fragile this tradition is, even for those established nuclear powers. In recent years, my research has delved into the concept of status in international relations. My recent book examines India's quest for major power status, exploring how its rivalries with China and Pakistan are shaped in part by status competition. Notably, India's rapprochement with the United States occurred largely because the latter began recognizing India as a rising power. My current book projects extend these ideas. One explores how great powers might abandon peaceful grand strategies when their expectations for status reciprocity go unmet. The other investigates why great powers repeatedly intervene militarily against second-tier states, even as traditional interstate wars have declined. I argue that conflicting status norms, spheres of influence versus sovereign equality, create fertile ground for these interventions. Beyond scholarship, I have sought to advance inclusivity and global perspectives within the discipline of international relations. As president of the 7,000-strong International Studies Association, your companion association, ISA 2016-2017, I spearheaded a task force to amplify voices from the Global South. In 2019, I launched the Global Research Network on Peaceful Change, GRENPEC, a collaboration among leading scholars worldwide. Glenn Peck has published some 41-chapter Oxford Handbook, 3 edited volumes, 5 special journal issues, addressing both constructive and challenging dimensions of peaceful change, from peaceful coexistence to international transitions and role of global institutions in this process. So we conceptualize peaceful change along a continuum, from a minimalist understanding focused on nonviolent transformation of international systems to maximalist visions emphasizing deep cooperation and the pursuit of a more just world order grounded in human rights and security. In our rapidly changing global landscape, marked by the rise of new centers of power and intensified globalization, understanding peaceful change and its opposite, violent change, is no longer optional, it is essential. While nations continue to invest heavily in military capabilities, the pursuit of peace through nonviolent means remains marginal. We lack sufficient insights into how rising powers such as China can be integrated without triggering conflict, and how regions might evolve into peaceful orders or conversely descend into violence. Peace and change are timeless themes in the discipline of international relations. The field itself emerged from debates on peaceful change between 2 world wars and matured through post-war theoretical developments, particularly among American and European scholars who often ignored the global South. The peaceful end to the Cold War rekindled scholarly interest, especially among constructivist and critical theorists. Today, there is a vital movement to globalize the field, drawing from diverse national, cultural, and gendered experiences, which has profound implications for knowledge production, governance, and inclusion. And I applaud IPSA for continuing this hard work that we need to do. Before IPSA conference, I visited the DMZ first day of, or before the conference started, and saw the now defunct Kaesong Industrial Complex and on the North Korean side, and the road and the rail network that was built before, and its closure made me sad. And I wish how ambitious this project was, and the Sunshine Policy, and if it succeeded, this region would have been transformed into something big. So the big question is, can we rethink that strategy once again? Will East Asia and Indo-Pacific achieve peaceful coexistence or become mired in rivalry and conflict as the century advances? Can these regions foster peace and order while advancing human well-being? These questions are urgent, and they demand rigorous exploration by scholars and policymakers alike. President Kim's ideas merit renewed attention. It is the responsibility of a new generation of leaders and supporters to champion peace and human rights with courage, clarity, and conviction. For reconciliation, cooperation, we have to keep trying. And that is the message I think President Kim sends us all the time. Thank you very much.